An intelligent person does not take interest in a place, even at the topmost planetary system, if the pure Ganges of topics concerning the Supreme Lord's activities does not flow there. If there are not devotees engaged in service on the banks of such a river of piety, or if there are no festivals of Sankirtan Yagna to satisfy the Lord, especially since Sankirtan Yagna is recommended in this age. O Lord, if I can always remember you here, then it's a good sign, then it's good that I suffer in this womb. O Lord, please be merciful to me. Please do not throw me into any place where I cannot remember your lotus feet. O Lord, I've suffered in this way for millions and millions of births. O Lord, I've suffered because of my own karma. O Lord, O essence of all the Vedas, if I can remember you here, then please let me stay always in the midst of these sufferings. O Krishna, in this way, please make me qualified to serve you. Make me your slave, keep me at your feet. O my Lord, if you carry me across the ocean of sufferings, then I want only you and nothing else. Although in the womb the soul is tormented at every moment, life in the womb is still good, for there the soul can remember Lord Krishna. By the power of these prayers, the soul does not feel pain in the womb. Then at a certain time, against his will, the soul falls to the ground. O Mother, please listen. Please listen to what happens to the soul when he first falls to the ground. First the soul becomes unconscious, and then he cries out. Then he breathes. He has no power to speak. He floats in an ocean of sufferings. The soul is by nature a servant of Lord Krishna. Bewildered by Lord Krishna's Maya, the soul does not worship Lord Krishna. In this way the soul suffers. After some days, by the power of time, the soul attains intelligence and knowledge. A soul who then worships Lord Krishna is very fortunate. However, a soul, because of bad association, does not worship Lord Krishna, again and again drowns in Maya's sins. Srimad Bhagavatam, Supreme Personality of Godhead, declares, if therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people, engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. It is also said in the scriptures, how can a person who does not worship Lord Krishna's feet have an untroubled life and an easy death? A person who remembers and worships Lord Krishna does have an untroubled life and an easy death. Therefore, O Mother, please associate with devotees and worship Lord Krishna. With your mind, think of Lord Krishna. With your mouth, chant Hari. In non-devotional activities bring no good result. Non-devotional activities bring only calamity. Assuming the mood of Lord Kapila, Lord Chaitanya taught his mother in this way. Hearing these words, Sachi became very joyful. Whether he was eating, sleeping, or awake, Lord Chaitanya did not talk of anything but Lord Krishna. Devotees hear descriptions of Lord Krishna, speak them, and think about them in their hearts. The devotees think, when will Lord Krishna appear before me? When will I be able to associate with devotees? When will I become pure at heart? This is how devotees think in their hearts. These thoughts bring them great happiness. By appearing in this world, Lord Chaitanya destroyed the materialists and offenders and broke the devotees' sufferings. Assuming the role of a Vaishnava, Lord Chaitanya always saw Lord Krishna present everywhere in the world. With his ears he heard Lord Krishna's names day and night. With his mouth he spoke the word Krishna Chandra without stopping. Lord Chaitanya forgot the nectar of learning. Now he was not attracted to anything but Lord Krishna. Early every morning his students would gather for class. He who is the master of the three worlds would sit down to lecture. However, nothing but Krishna came to his tongue. The students asked, what is the perfection of Varnashram in scriptures? The Lord replied, Lord Narayan is the perfection of all the Varnas. As a student asked, how is he the perfection of the Varnas? The Lord replied, Lord Krishna's glance created the Varnas. A student said, "O Pandit, please give the right explanation." The Lord said, "You should just remember Lord Krishna at every moment. I have described the worship of Lord Krishna. That is the right teaching of all the scriptures. In the beginning, middle, and end, the scriptures teach the worship of Lord Krishna." Hearing the Lord's explanations, the students laughed. Some said, "I think an imbalance of life airs is the cause of this explanation." The student said, "Why do you talk like this?" And the Lord replied, "This is the teaching of the scriptures." The Lord said, "If you cannot understand it now, then this afternoon please think about it and try to understand it. Each student go to a secluded place and look at the books. In the afternoon we'll meet again." Hearing the Lord's words, the surprised students tied up their books and left. All the students told Gangadas what the Lord had said. They said, "Nimai Pandit says that all words in the scriptures refer to Lord Krishna. From the time he returned home from Gaya, he talks only of Krishna and nothing else. The hairs of his body erect, he always chants Krishna. Sometimes he laughs, sometimes he screams in ecstasy. Every day he teaches that every Dhatu Sutra, grammar rule about verbs, somehow describes Lord Krishna. We do not have the power to understand his explanations. O Pandit, please tell us, what should we do?" Hearing the student's words, the Brahmin Gangadas, who was the crest jewel of teachers, smiled. He said, "Go home. Return tomorrow morning. This afternoon I will give him some advice." Thinking this as a good arrangement, the students studied from their books. In the afternoon, they met with Lord Chaitanya. That afternoon, everyone assembled and very happily sat down with Lord Chaitanya. On his head, Lord Chaitanya placed the dust of his teacher's feet. His teacher, Gangadas, blessed him with the words, "May you attain true learning." His teacher said, "Vishvambar, my son, please hear my words. It is not a small good fortune for one to be a teacher of Brahmins. Your maternal father is Nilambar Chakravarti, and your father is Jagannath Misra. Neither your mother's nor your father's families are illiterate fools, and you are very expert at speaking commentaries. If one renounces study, will he then attain devotion to the Lord? Are your father and maternal grandfather not devotees of the Lord? Understanding this, you should apply yourself to the path of scholarship. It is by studying and learning that one becomes a Vaishnava Brahmin." How can an educated Brahmin know what is right and what is wrong? Understanding this, you should chant Krishna and also continue your teaching and studies. Please sit down and teach the scriptures in the right way. Your wrong explanation chew on my head. The Lord said, "By the mercy of your feet, no one in Navadvip has the power to debate with me. I will explain the sutras. Who in Navadvip has the power to break apart my explanations and prove his own? I will sit down in the town and I will lecture. I will see who has the power to find fault with my explanations." Hearing these words, the Lord's teacher became happy. After offering obeisances to his teacher's feet, the Lord left. Thus, he who counts the husband of Saraswati and the master of Vedas among his students bowed down before the feet of Gangadas Pandit. What good fortune was attained by Gangadas Pandit? The Supreme Lord, who is worshipped by the 14 worlds, became his student. Like a full moon surrounded by a host of stars, Lord Chaitanya, surrounded by his students, walked. The Supreme Lord, whose feet stay on Goddess Lakshmi's breast, sat down at the entrance of the city. Tying his garment in the Yoga Patta style, the Lord explained the sutras, proving and breaking various interpretations. The Lord said, "In Kali Yuga, even a fool with no knowledge, even of Sandhi, claims that he is a Bhattacharya. A fool who does not even know how the meanings of words will try to debate logic and philosophy. None of these fools can defeat me." I will see who can prove what I break apart, or break apart what I prove. In this way, Lord Chaitanya, the master of the universes, spoke. Who had the power to challenge him? Many teachers came there to see the Ganga. When they heard the Lord's challenge, their pride was crushed into powder. Who in Navadvip had the power to approach Lord Chaitanya and defeat him in debate? As if in rapt meditation, Lord Chaitanya lectured for a long time. 2 hours of the night had passed, and still he had not stopped. By divine arrangement, a certain very fortunate Brahmin lived in the outskirts of the city. Hare Krishna. His name was Ratnagarbhacharya. He was a friend of the Lord's father, for they were both born in the same village. His 3 sons were bumblebees attracted to the honey of the lotus flower of Lord Krishna's feet. Their names were Krishna Ananda, Jiva, and Yadunath Kavachandra. The Brahmin had great love for Srimad Bhagavatam. At that moment he was lovingly reading this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Brahmin's wives saw Krishna putting on a garment glittering like gold. He wore a nice garland of forest flowers and a peacock feather on his head. He was also painted with minerals found in Vrndavana. He looked exactly like a dancing actor on a theatrical stage. They saw him keeping one hand on the shoulder of a friend. In his other hand he was holding a lotus flower. His ears were decorated with lilies. He wore marks of tilak, and he was smiling charmingly. Reading with great devotion and happiness, the verse entered the Lord's ears. Hearing about the glory of devotional service, Lord Chaitanya at once fell down. He was unconscious. The students were astonished. After a moment, the Lord returned to external consciousness. Returning to external consciousness, Lord Chaitanya repeated, "Say it, say it." Then he rolled on the ground. With tears from his eyes, the Lord sprinkled the ground. He wept and trembled. The hairs of his body stood erect. Seeing the Lord's ecstatic happiness, the Brahmins, with devotion and happiness, again read that verse about devotional service. Seeing that the Brahmin was reading with great devotion, the Lord, very pleased, embraced him. Embraced by the king of Vaikuntha, Ratnagarbha became filled with ecstatic love. Ratnagarbha grasped the Lord's feet and wept. Now the Brahmin was caught in Lord Chaitanya's trap of love. Filled with love, he read the verse again and again. "Say it, say it," the Lord loudly demanded. Seeing this, everyone became filled with wonder. Seeing this, the townspeople bowed down to offer respect. "Don't read any more," Gadadhar said. Everyone sat down around Lord Chaitanya. After some moments, Lord Chaitanya returned to external consciousness. "Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened," the Lord asked. The Lord said, "Did I act recklessly?" The student replied, "You're glorious and learned. What power have I to say anything about you?" Then the Lord's friend said, "Please don't praise him." Now in external consciousness and his ecstatic emotion suppressed, the Lord went with everyone to see the Ganga. After first offering obeisances to the Ganga and placing some Ganga water on his head, the Lord sat down with his companions by the Ganga's bank. Lord Chaitanya was just like Nanda's son, who, accompanied many cowherd friends, enjoyed pastimes by the Yamuna's bank. In this way, by the Ganga's banks and in the company of the devotees, Sachi's son enjoyed pastimes day and night. In this way, by Ganga's banks and in the company of the devotees, Sachi's son enjoyed pastimes of talking about Lord Krishna. After some moments, everyone took their leave and returned to their homes. Then Lord Chaitanya also returned to his home. Then he, who is the master of all the worlds, enjoyed his meal. Then he cast a glance on the transcendental pastimes of sleep. The night came to an end. All the students came, sat down, and studied their books. The Lord came, quickly bathed in the Ganga, sat down, and taught from his books. He did not say anything that was not about Lord Krishna. Every word of his explanations was about devotional service to Lord Krishna. One student asked, "How are verbal roots explained?" The Lord replied, "All words are potencies of Lord Krishna." Now I'll explain the sutras about verbal roots. Oh, my brothers, please listen. Who has the power to break apart my explanations? Look at a king. He has a splendid, splendid body. He's decorated with gold ornaments. He's glorious with sandal paste. The people say, "His words are the words of Yamaraj, or the words of Goddess Lakshmi." Still, please hear what happens to such a king when the breath of life is gone. Where does the handsomeness of his limbs go? Sometimes it becomes ashes. Other times it's buried in the earth. The potency of Lord Krishna lives in all bodies as the breath of life. It is that force that one loves. It is to that force that one is devoted. Although they argue, it is true, it is not true, ordinary teachers do not understand this truth. Please give your thoughts to this and understand it. There may be very respected persons before whom I bow down to offer respect. But when the life breath leaves them, I must bathe if I touch his body. The son may be very happily embrace his father, but when the life breath leaves, the son must place fire on the father's head. Thereafter, the life breath is the potency of Lord Krishna. It is loved by everyone. Therefore, the life breath is the potency of Lord Krishna. It's loved by everyone. That is how I see it. Who has the power to refute my words? Lord Krishna's potency is supremely pure. It's worthy of our worship. Oh, my brothers, you should all be very firmly devoted to Lord Krishna. Chant Krishna, worship Krishna, Hare Krishna's name, day and night, meditate, Lord Krishna's feet. Yamaraj has no power over anyone who offers water to rasa grass. Worship, worship the feet of Nanda's son, feet that gave liberation to Aga, Baka, and Putana. Even though he was thinking of his son Ajamil, somehow remembered Lord Krishna. For that reason, Ajamil went to Vaikuntha. Therefore, you should worship Lord Krishna's feet. Clothed only by the four directions, Shiva serves Lord Krishna's feet. Goddess Lakshmi very respectfully serves Lord Krishna's feet. Anantashesh chants the glories of Lord Krishna's feet. Placing a straw between your teeth, you should also worship Lord Krishna's feet. As long as there is life within your bodies, you should engage in devotional service to Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, Krishna is your life and your wealth. Therefore I say you should grasp Lord Krishna's feet and declare, "To Lord Krishna I give my body and my thoughts." Accepting the role of his servant, the Lord described his own glories. 6 hours passed, and still he did not stop. Enthralled, the students listened with a single heart. No one spoke a word. Please know, without doubt, that all these students were eternal servants of Lord Krishna. If this were not so, how could they have studied under Lord Krishna himself? After some moments, Lord Chaitanya returned to external consciousness. Embarrassed at heart, he looked at the faces of them all. The Lord asked, "How did I explain the sutra about verbal roots? The student answered, you gave a right explanation. Who can contradict your explanations? Whatever you say is the truth. What others teach is not the truth. The Lord said, tell me what you want me to do. My life airs are very agitated. How did I explain verbal roots? The students replied, you said they were all names of Lord Krishna. Your explanations of the sutras and commentaries spoke of Lord Krishna only. Who has the power to understand your explanations? When you heard about devotional service, you acted in such a way that we do not think you are a mere human being. The Lord asked, what did you see me do? The students replied, it was a great wonder. You trembled and wept. The hairs of your body stood erect. We've not seen anything like this. Yesterday, when in town you were lecturing on books, a Brahmin read a verse aloud. Hearing this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, you at once fell unconscious. There was no life in any of your limbs. We were very surprised. Regaining consciousness, you wept. Your tears were like the Ganga. At the end, you trembled. 100 men could have not held you still. From your head to your feet, the hairs of your body stood erect. Your fair form was covered with perspiration, saliva, and dust. Gazing at you, everyone was filled with wonder. Everyone said, this person must be Lord Narayan himself. Someone said, he must be Vyas or Sukadeva or Narada or Prahlad. He has the Lord's mercy as much as they. We gathered around you and held you still. After some moments, you regained external consciousness. You did not know any of this. We were telling you something more. Please hear it with attention. We will tell you something more. Please hear it with attention. For the past 10 days, your lectures on the scriptures have described only Lord Krishna's holy name and Lord Krishna's devotional service. For the past 10 days, your lectures have been like that. We've been afraid to tell you. You know all the meanings of every word. If you explain the meanings of words, who can challenge you? The Lord said, 10 days without lectures? Was it not your duty to tell me about that? The students replied, your lectures were right and true. It is true that Lord Krishna is described in all the scriptures. It is true that Lord Krishna is the essence of all scriptures. If we cannot understand it, we are at fault. You explained the root of all knowledge. You spoke the truth. It is only because of our past bad karma that our hearts could not understand it. The Lord was pleased by the students' words. Then he very mercifully spoke to them. The Lord said, O my brothers, what you say is the truth. What I will now say should not be spoken to others. Brothers, I tell you, I always see a dark boy who plays a flute. Every word I hear with my ears is the holy name of Lord Krishna. Every place I see is the holy abode of Lord Krishna. Now I must leave you all. From today on, I will not lecture. You may go to any teacher your heart likes, and you may learn from them. I make you fearless in this way. I cannot talk of anything but Lord Krishna. Now I have told you my heart. After speaking these words to them all, Lord Chaitanya wept and tied up his books. The students bowed down and said, we will tell you our desire. We have studied under you. How can we study under anyone else? Unhappy to be separated from their teacher, the students wept and said, the lectures we heard from your mouth we will keep in our hearts birth after birth. They will be our meditation. How could we study under another teacher? What we have learned from you is good enough for us. With folded hands, the students spoke these words to the Lord. Then they tied up their books and they called out, Hari, and weeping, Lord Chaitanya, the jewel of the Brahmins, embraced them all. Bowing their heads, the students wept. Even so, they were drowning in transcendental bliss. With a choked voice, Lord Chaitanya, the son of Sachi, blessed his students. He said, if someday I become a true servant of Lord Krishna, then I will pray that all your desires will be fulfilled. All of you, please take shelter of Lord Krishna. Please fill your voices with Lord Krishna's holy name. Please always hear Lord Krishna's holy name with your ears. Please consider Lord Krishna as your great treasure, your life breath. What you have learned so far, that is good enough. Don't strive to learn more. Please gather together and chant. What you have learned so far is good enough. By Lord Krishna's mercy, all the scriptures will be manifest within you all. You are my friends, birth after birth. Hearing the Lord's nectar words, the students felt their hearts become filled with transcendental bliss. Bowing down, I offer respectful obeisances to the feet of these students. They were very fortunate to have been Lord Chaitanya's students. Please know without a doubt that they are Lord Krishna's servants eternally. If this were not so, then how could they have studied under Lord Krishna himself? Anyone who sees a person who directly saw the Lord's pastimes of scholarship will become freed from the bonds of repeated birth and death. I'm a sinner. That is why I was not born then. I was cheated of the sight of these blissful pastimes. O Supreme Lord, please be merciful. Allow your pastimes of scholarship to stay always in my heart. All of Nadia still bears the marks of Vaikuntanath's king. All of Nadia still bears the marks of the Vaikuntha king who taught in Navadvip. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes have no beginning or end. The Vedas use the words Arvibharv, appearance, and Tirobhav, disappearance, to describe them. In this way, the Lord's pastimes of scholarship came to an end. Then his pastimes of Sankirtan began. In the four directions were weeping students, tears gliding down their necks. The merciful Lord then said to them, "What you have heard and read for many days now, make perfect by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna." Students replied, "How shall we chant the holy names of the Lord?" Then Sachi's son gave them this direction. Hari, Harai, Namaha, Krishna, Yadavaya, Namaha, Gopala, Govindaram, Shimadhusudan. Hari, I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Hari. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna, the descendant of King Yadu, O Gopal, O Govinda, O Ram, O Shimadhusudan. In this way, he showed them the right direction. Clapping his hands, the Lord chanted his own holy names with his students. The four directions around him filled with his students. The master of Kirtan chanted his own holy names. The Lord entered a spiritual trance, tasting the nectar of his own holy names. He rolled about on the ground and became covered with dust. "Chant, chant," the Lord called in the four directions. Again and again the Lord fell to the ground. The earth burst apart. Hearing the tumult, all of Nadia ran to the Lord's home. Hearing the kirtan, all who lived in neighboring Vaishnav homes ran to that place. Seeing the Lord's ecstatic trance, the Vaishnavas felt great wonder in their hearts. They all felt great happiness in their hearts, and they said, "Now, there's a great kirtan in the towns of Nadia. Is it possible that this kind of rare and exalted devotional service has come to this world? Our eyes have become fruitful to see this exalted devotional service." Vishwambar was the pinnacle of arrogance. Now we see he has attained a spiritual love even Narada cannot attain. If an arrogant person like him can attain devotion like this, then I do not understand Lord Krishna's desire, or why this is now taking place. After some moments, Lord Chaitanya returned to external consciousness. Again and again, Lord Chaitanya chanted, Krishna, Krishna. Even though he was in external consciousness, he did not talk of external things. He approached the Vaishnavas, embraced them, and wept. Gathering around him, the Vaishnavas pacified the Lord. Then the joyful Vaishnavas departed. Some of the students remained in the Lord's association. Blissful with spiritual love, they walked on the path of renunciation. In this way, Lord Chaitanya openly revealed his true nature. In this way, the devotees' sufferings were all destroyed. The two moons, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Nityananda, my life and soul, I, Vrndavana Das, sing the glories of their feet.